Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the studio where today I'm on a comfy couch and the whole episode is going to be me talking about the Korg Volca Bass. So this synthesizer came out in 2013. I believe I bought this, if I remember correctly, in 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. I bought this to accompany the Korg Monotribe, which we covered in the last video. And if you haven't seen that video, just click the little button that comes up there, and you can check out the Korg Monotribe and what I think about that. Now, this synthesizer is mostly focusing on bass. So I believe it has a saw wave and a square wave. And these price on Reverb anywhere from $100 to $200. Now, I'm not too sure if Korg is still making brand new units or if they just made a whole plethora of them and they're just still going through backstock selling them. Because you do see them for brand new on some websites for like $200, which kind of seems rather expensive. I think at the time I paid, I think it was $140. So for price for entry point on analog synthesis, this is probably one of the cheapest options you do have if you're looking to get into analog synthesis. So, with all that said, let's go take a look at the Korg Volca Bass. So here it is. This is the Korg Volca Bass. Now this unit is battery operated. I believe it takes 6 AA's. Just in the back there, 6 AA's. It's got a very small speaker. Now they claim this is a bass synth, so I have no idea why they would throw a speaker in there when you can't really hear the bass that you're going to be able to produce. It's also got MIDI in, which is quite handy actually, so you can control this from your DAW if you do want to use this in with your MIDI keyboard and everything, because all you get is a very simple ribbon controller. It's got a 9-volt in, it's got the sync in and sync out, which is the same on the Monotribe like in last week's video. And then all it's got for an output is a little headphone jack. So unfortunately, all you get is a little 1/8 cable to plug this in. So let's fire up the unit. Very, very simple. Takes a little while to load up. And here is the synth. So I believe I do have a little pattern on this already. I'm just going to hit play and see what happens. You get a 16-step sequencer with this synthesizer. Very simple. You've got a octave control here, which is, I believe, when you are writing the notes, the octave you will select. It's got a resonance, a filter. It's got an LFO rate, and then a LFO INT, which I believe must be depth. And then you get into 3 oscillators here. So you got a VCO1, VCO2, and VCO3. And each of these little knobs here determines the detunement. You've got a tempo knob, you've got a attack, decay and release, and then the cutoff for the EG-INT. So, also got a function button here. So your function button will control a bunch of different options down here. So you can choose from 1 oscillator, 2 oscillator, or 3 oscillators altogether. Now when you're holding the function, these also go up red. So you can mute and unmute each oscillator as well. So the next kind of set of keys for the function button here, you can send the LFO to the amp, which is the volume. You can send the LFO to the LFO target pitch, or you can set it to the cutoff. And then you only get 2 choices of waves for the LFO. You've got I believe that's got to be a triangle and a square. triangle and a square, I believe there. And then in the next 3 buttons here, you can control if it's a saw wave or a square wave for each of the 3 oscillators. It's got a sustain button, it's got an amp EG on, and then it's got a glide button, and then you can clear the active steps. And I believe you can save up to 16 sequences on this. Don't quote me on that. So anyways, let's clear this pattern. So if I hold Shift and the clear active step, that should have cleared it, I believe. So that did not clear it. Clear part. There we go. So let's start with one oscillator. I have to be honest, right off the bat, these oscillators sound kind of weird. So that is a saw wave. Let's switch it over to a square, I believe. Oh, sorry, that's a saw. That's a square. It's quite noisy at the top end there. That's with peak turned off as well. If I turn peak up, quite squelchy. Sounds quite cheap, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, let's write a little pattern. So I can't get over the noise. Can you hear that kind of like top end noise there? Doesn't sound quite right. I don't like that. Okay, anyways, let's add a second oscillator there. It's a very grimy kind of sound to it. It's a touch out of phase between the oscillators as well. I don't know if you can quite hear that. Okay, let's pitch this back up to normal. Let's give it just a touch of detune. And throw in the third oscillator. Let's try going. Also turn on, so this button is the amp EG. Let's turn that on. So now we get control of the attack and decay. It's kind of weird to have a decay and release on the same one, because you get kind of like, I don't know if you can quite hear that, but it just like releases and dies down immediately. I'm not really a fan of that. It's a very cheap kind of like amp EG section. And like when you increase the attack, you still get the initial note. Doesn't sound quite right. Okay, let's send our little LFO section to the amp, which will be the EG, I believe. not a big fan of like the whole sound of this so far. It's just a bunch of mid muddiness to me. And like it's weird how it kind of like detunes on the low end. Like you've got a definite separation between like the sub bass into the mid warmth and like that 300 to 600 range. It's just very, very weird. Almost sounds like a weird digital clone of analog. All right, let's turn sustain on. And let's bring... So the sustain is a solid like on or off. Now we can also turn on a glide on this. Where it kind of just like pulsates between all the notes and it'll keep on adding like a step in the sequence, so to say. Weird glide. Get rid of that. Not a fan of it. And that basically like that covers this synth, to be honest. Like just very, very simple. It's not quite as squelchy as the MS-12 or the MS-20 filter on the Mono Tribe. Not quite as nice of a filter. The filter actually sounds like very, very cheap in my opinion. Very cheap. Like it's got some decent low end there. But still, I can hear that like noise floor. There's like an upper noise floor to it. So it's like the filter isn't a true cutoff. Yeah, I don't know. So far, not really liking this synthesizer. So when I press step mode, I guess that's obviously the steps I recorded. Let's see, slide edit. If I hold slide edit, let's try doing something like that, see what happens. Kind of like a one-trick pony, you know, like sure you get 3 oscillators for a bass synth, but I don't know, they're not very good oscillators. The filter is kind of trash. I'm sure you can detune it a little bit. The modulation section is just trash in my opinion. Yeah, not super sold on this synth. Not super sold on this whatsoever. Honestly, the sound on this is, you can get a better sound out of a DAW. With more recent VSTs, you can get way better sounds out of like Massive for sure and stuff like that. Like for what you pay for this, go out and buy a VST, because this is kind of trash. And like you can get probably a 9-volt power supply, but trying to find the right one that fits in there, you're probably going to spend another $40 just on the proper power supply for this. So then you're having to change batteries all the time on this, and you know, that adds up in cost after a while. So overall, this synth, for its one-trick poniness, this thing is kind of trash. Kind of trash indeed. I'll probably hold on to it for nostalgia value. Oh, that was kind of noisy. Yeah, I'll probably hold on to this for nostalgia value. Other than that, like, the speaker on this for a bass synth is absolutely trash. So if you come across this serial number 014254, you will know you bought this synth from me. Not sold on this whatsoever. It's plastic. Knobs are like plastic. You got the teeny tiny little knobs. Doesn't really do much. If you're looking for just bass, you could probably spend another $200, 200 more bucks on top of this and get something that actually has fat waves to it. Like a Moog Taurus, a used Moog Taurus would probably do you a lot better than this thing. This is just a toy, 100% a toy. Not going to recommend this to anyone. So there you have it. That's my honest opinion on this thing. Is it worth it? I don't see any collector's value for this in the future. Like, maybe in the future, maybe like in 50 years, everyone will be like, oh, I used to have one of these and I wish I could have another one. And they're probably going to all be like scrap for parts because it's made of plastic and cheap components, I'm guessing, inside of here. Like, you heard the oscillators. Like, I am not a fan of how those oscillators sound whatsoever. The filter is just not worth it in my opinion. So yeah, this synth gets a 1 out of 20. Absolute trash, I would say. Go and save a bit more money and get something a little bit more decent. There are plenty of options out there. So go out there, do your research, and buy something worthwhile if you're looking for a bass synth. Look at a Moog. Look at something else. Look at like a semi-modular system of some kind. There are lots of options out there, and I suggest in 2023 you use those options rather than this piece of junk. So yes, that is my honest opinion on the Korg Volca Bass, and it's not worth it. Don't buy it. It's not worth it. So thank you everyone for watching. Please, please, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, leave a like on the video. And let me know your thoughts on the Korg Volca Bass. Do you use it in your studio? What do you use it for? And why are you using it? I just honestly want to know why people are using a synth that sounds like that. It just doesn't sound good in my opinion. So with that, everyone, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next week, where we're going to be going over the Korg Volca Keys, which was the next synth in my little synth collection that I purchased. So until next week, bye-bye.